And okay, hi everyone. Today is the 5th of August 2024. This is the bi-weekly meeting for the Kubeflow Model Registry. Just want to welcome everybody, and just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded from now. And this meeting, as all the meeting in the Kubeflow community, adheres to the CNCF Code of Conduct, for which you can find a link in the minutes of the meeting notes. For the purpose of who may have joined a bit later, I'm sending a link in the chat, or otherwise for the people looking at the recording, you can find some of the links in there too. So typically in this meeting, we run through some checkpoints every 2 weeks about the progress for the model registry component in the Kubeflow community. So today, just I have a couple of housekeeping notes. One is that there is, I don't have yet an update about the Zoom bridge. As soon as we will know, I just prefer to remind everybody that we may have to move to the CNCF Zoom for the connection. As soon as I know more, it will be posted and we will announce that one too. So I see that some people have added some comments to the today's agenda. So without further ado, I will just go through the usual header.
Yeah, Matteo, my suggestion would be to move myself for the end of the call, because then I don't want to hijack with everything, and then we can go down, and then I can use the last minutes, because depending on the amount of time, I can go longer or can go faster.
Okay, thank you, Eder. So then I will make it round later. On the CSI, then I will just move to the next topic real quick. Is that I have synced with Andrea offline and on the pull request. So we have the clusters custom storage initializer for a model registry. It's merged, so it means that as a working group, we are now publishing another container image in Kubeflow, a model registry storage initializer. So that means that we can start to use that one as a further integration point specifically for KServe. I think that what we wanted to follow up in the next meetings when there will be the chance with Andrea is to make sure the code organization, because currently today reside in kind of like a specific folder in the repo. So maybe we can do some due diligence over there. But further, I think that the question that we had open, that we started to investigate offline with Andrea, is about how do we make it easier to consume, as easy as possible to more than easy, as easy as possible to consume for Kubeflow users in general. So I think that I found that in another working group, they have similar images. And so this is what I suggested to Andrea to check out on how they do that, or otherwise we will follow on Slack. So this is the update for this meeting here. So this is the update that I can report about the model registry CSI. Moving on, I think that I will try to wait before speaking about the MLflow integration, if maybe Leo will appear later, because I saw him adding comments to the pull request or in the minutes of the meeting, but I don't see him present. So maybe he typically maybe join a bit later. So we'll give it the chance for him to join in a bit. In the meantime, Chanaki, I think that I can give the floors to you. So I thought that you wanted indeed to follow up on the demo. So we're very happy that you wanted to present to the group. So I invite you, if you want, to start your screen share, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Matteo. Can you guys hear me? Okay, yeah, I will share my screen. All right, can you guys see it?
We can see VS Code. Yes.
VS Code, yeah, okay. Yeah, so the current setup I have right now is I'm running the MLMD image on the current cluster in the model registry operator. So the thing I'll be demoing is the multi-tenancy feature that I added to the MLMD um, server. So let's say you have an artifact type and you name it sample type, and you put in a bunch of sample artifacts. Let's call it sample A, sample A2, and sample B. Currently, how it works without the multi-tenancy is that, let's say if you want to get artifacts by type, it shows every single artifact that exists in the server. And as you can imagine, if there's multiple teams working on multiple different projects, that can get a bit chaotic. So my feature, what it does, it adds a property to the artifact that we can specify the group it belongs to. So let's say the sample A belongs to group A, sample A2 belongs to group A, and then sample B belongs to group B. So now let's load these artifacts. Second. Port forwarding isn't working. 1 second.
No worries. This is the typically sometimes happens with live. It means that it's really live, so don't worry about it.
Okay. You can proceed. I think I'll try to fix it and then come back.
You want me to move to the next item, or do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, no worries. It's like if you want, we can take it from here in a second. I'll just move to the next item. So maybe it seems like there is something in the background. So I'll leave you debugging as needed. All right, take your time. Just ping me as soon as you need.
All right, for sure.
Let me just share the agenda. Thank you again. Okay, so we coming back later. Then I don't know if there was somebody that wanted to speak about the pull request. We had it a little bit back. I don't know if there was somebody that wanted to speak to this pull request or issues proper about the hyperparameters. I just wanted to make sure if there is anybody, was there everybody? Yep, Nicolas.
Sorry, I was completely zoned out there.
No worries.
For those that you don't know me, sorry, I didn't do an introduction earlier. Hi, I'm Nicholas. I'm from Red Hat as well. Yeah, so we wanted to try and implement some new types, specifically around hyperparameter optimization, and sort of wanted to get the community's opinions on those. Yeah.
All right. I think that I'll try to give the best representation. I think of what Andre I think mentioned in some of the previous meeting. I think that the question is trying to make sure that metadata that is stored in Model Registry is representative of the sort of like the minimum data that you want to keep beyond what a Khatib jobs would do. So I think that the question is whether there are some metadata that is important to capture as soon as a Khatib job finishes that is representative of the metadata that you will need out of it. And so when you have it from a model registry, basically speaking. So I think that there maybe is like Nicolas, the best feedback as maybe, I don't know if, I don't remember if Andre added a comment there. But my suggestion would be to maybe let me think, because I think that there was okay. So there is the recording of the 8th of July. So what I would appreciate is that if maybe we can circle back offline and check what were the comments of Andre on that meeting, and see if sort of like those are already captured or needs to be better explained in the issue, because Andre had some comment at the time. So I think that I will go there. I know, sorry, it's not the 24th of June. So this is where I would try to find the comments from Andre. But beyond that one, you will find Andre very receptive in the CNCF Slack. So my suggestion is that after you briefly checked on the minutes of on the recordings that we are publishing, is like you can just start a thread in any of the CNCF Slack channels, either Model Registry or the Kubeflow platform Slack, and this will be the most convenient, because I try to give the best representation of the TLDR of what I remember from Andre, but I'm not that involved with Katib, so I might be sort of like a bit rough edges. Does it work for you, Nicholas?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks. Yeah, I've spoken to Andre a couple of times, both in the Khatib meetings and over Slack. And he, yeah, gives some opinions on that. But yeah, I'll check over those new notes and then circle back on it.
Yeah, that will be appreciated. And as soon as Nicholas, you have maybe kind of like a consolidated understanding with Andre, please feel free to add it to the GitHub issue, and we can continue on the next bi-weekly meeting if that helps. But otherwise, once those are clarified, I think that if you want to progress on the implementation directly, I would encourage you to start with a pull request. The smaller the better, so that we can work iteratively. But this could be a good way to kickstart the work over there. It will be awesome.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you to you, Nicholas. All righty. So let me just give it Chanakya. So I saw your comment, I think. Oh, Ramesh.
Yeah, I was gonna say to Nicholas, along with this PR, if there is an integration that we can do with the Katib, like an example or something we can work towards, that would be a good Nicholas to show I mean, we can work separately, but as a follow-on task, I'm suggesting working with Andre or somebody to showcase an example there. That would be great.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Yeah, about that one, thank you, Ramesh, because that is a good suggestion. If that helps, Nicholas, I think that let me just grab it. In the roadmap for 110, we were discussing other integration examples, and there is so this is in the Kubeflow Model Registry. This is the roadmap that we are defining for 110. It includes some improvement integration. This could be example, blueprint, code changes, anything required that will make it a better integration with other components. And I captured a note for something that was discussed in the Katib for, in this case, neural architecture search, something like this. So I think that the idea here is that they wanted to use Katib, and if I understand correctly, there is their own heuristic to find the best architecture for a given neural network that you want to build, and how many layers, how many parameters, these kind of things. So I think that maybe this is where is a potential additional source of inspiration if you wanted to take it as an example, a concrete example on metadata that out of Katib you may want to track in Model Registry. So if that is of any help, this is tracked in the roadmap for 110. I'm trying to keep diligently a list of potential examples here. So you have the link over there.
I'll take a look at that then.
Thank you. Right. So Chanakya,
Yeah, thank you, Matteo.
to you.
Yeah, sharing my screen right now. Yeah, my IP address changed because I connected to a different network, so that's why I couldn't find.
Yeah, no worries. We can see your VS Code.
Yeah. All right. So just as a recap, I put in 3 artifacts: sample A, sample A2, sample B, and the first two belong to group A, and the last one belongs to group B. So now, if a user were to make a request called get artifacts by type, usually how it previously would have worked is it would have showed every single artifact, regardless of which group they belong to. But now, if we pass in the user's group information on as the metadata and run the request, you'll be only see 2 artifacts, which is sample A and sample A2. And let's say if, for example, the user was part of group B, and we run it, we only see artifacts sample B. And it also supports multiple groups. So let's say the group user is part of group A and group B, then it would show all 3 artifacts: sample A, sample A2, and sample B. And let's say if the user was part of only group C, of which no artifacts exist, so it will only give you an empty response. So how we plan to integrate this into the model registry operator is that whenever a user makes a request, any type of request, we want Authorino to find the group information of the user and then inject that into the metadata of the gRPC, so that whenever all the responses that they get will be appropriate to their groups. That's it for now. Any questions?
I think that's awesome. And I'll give you the word to Ramesh, and then I think that just a couple of also additional comment that I can say. Ramesh? You're muted, Ramesh.
Oh, thank you. What I was going to ask you, Chanakya, is there any? I mean, is this for new installations? I guess, right? What would happen to our existing ones?
To all the existing ones, I still have to add the condition of if the artifact has no group, then it would just act as if
group all or something?
Yeah, group all. Yeah, so it would just show everything if there's no group that's specified.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And since this also doesn't change the protobufs, all the existing API stuff remains the same. Only thing that if you, as an addition, you can send the groups to the metadata information.
All right. Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, just one, because I was looking at the comments, one suggestion that I have, Chanakya, I don't know if you consider it, but I would encourage you to submit the pull request also upstream to the Google. Okay. And then, I mean, this is up for you to consider how you want to proceed. But my suggestion would be consider please submitting the pull request also upstream. And then this is also beyond that pull request. I think that we have also here Ricardo that maybe can help us relay the demo to the data science, the Kubeflow pipelines working group, because I think that they had a kind of like similar question they were iterating on. So I think these are the two-pronged things that I would encourage you to consider if you wanted to as well maybe demo directly to the Kubeflow pipelines working group. I think this could be also a good idea, but totally up to you. And I think otherwise, let's say they can reference to the recording of today. So just also a couple of other questions briefly is like I would assume that this is kind of like works for every kind of like data model. I think one of the
Yeah, it
questions.
does.
Okay, so you've shown us today about artifacts, but these work sort of like for all the entities that are needed.
Yeah, I can. It all works for all the artifacts, executions, context, and also all the requests. I just have the tests here. So yeah.
That's awesome. And maybe the question they would ask as well, I don't know if you thought about it, what happens for sort of like things that are retrieving linked entities? So when you retrieve by that, does it work also in that scenario?
So in that scenario, we kind of check while inserting if the both of the groups of both of the like the linked objects have the same group, and if so, and if that so that's one check, and then while making the request also, we should get both of the linked stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for the clarification. I thought I wanted to capture this one in our meeting so that if people go back and look at the recording, they get the idea that you've shown us today for artifacts, but it's sort of like the thing is meant to work for the domain entities. All right.
One comment, maybe Ricardo, how do you? I mean, just hypothetically, how do you suggest we can take this to the KFP? I mean, just come to the community meeting and see if there is any interest in picking this one up.
That's a good question. Problem is that if there is any changes that impacts the C++ code in MLMD, then it's outside of the KFP scope. But any changes that could be just to the MLMD clients, maybe we can bring to Pipeline's working group.
Okay. I think once we get to a little bit more stable state, we can probably take that one. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for Chanakya, and congratulations on your demo. I think this is awesome. So congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time for joining us today. So I personally really appreciate it. So very well done. All right, so let me just share back the minutes of the meeting. 1 second. And so, alrighty. So before just giving the word to Eder, so I see that Leo, I don't see Leo connected, but if I can try to be the best proxy, I think that the question was kind of like trying to integrate for the MLflow runtime downstream for the execution. So I think the question, if I interpreted correctly, but this was coming just earlier today, so I didn't have a fully chance to sort of like go and inspecting details. But I think that as we discussed in some previous meeting, to me, it makes sense. So it could be like for Hugging Face, what we do is that we are keeping a reference, like keeping a tabs in the model registry for a model which is stored in double bracket here somewhere else. So I think that the best topic here will be to make kind of like a very simple example on how this would work end to end. This could be specifically something like, okay, we record in model registry that we have some models already stored and indexed in MLflow registry at position X. What happens when you want to deploy? So this would be like in the tutorial that we have for the Kubeflow website. We collect the metadata and then we make a deployment. Then we have a special or we use the kserver time dedicated for MLflow. So this is the example that I would try to encourage Leo in the case that he will watch the recording to do. I don't know if Isabella, I think that in some other conversation you had some interaction with Leo. So this is at least the the suggestion that I will bring up. Like, it will be ideal to have a very simple example on how we start with a model that is ML Flow registry specifically. We do something analogous to the Hugging Face import, which is like store in the index in model registry the reference to the ML Flow, and then at runtime we make sure that the runtime the key server time that already supporting ML Flow are working as intended. So
Yeah, I'll try to ping you later. Thanks, Matteo.
yeah, that will be awesome. All right. And then anyway, we can follow up async. I think that we touched on all the points. So Eder, this is now back to you.
Thank you. You don't mind if I share my screen?
Absolutely. Please go ahead. Let me just stop my side of the recording.
Yeah, I will not share everything, just to, I put the slides here if they're too small, just to meet you. So I will do this presentation in a sustainable pace tomorrow in the Kubeflow meeting, and everybody is invited for discussion. I just do a walkthrough here, a fast speed on what we are proposing, because to give a little more context how this conversation started, because I work for Red Hat, and me and my team, that is people already call is Lucas, myself, Griffin, and Alex. We started to working on Model Registry Y in the community. And when we started this project, we did so we take an assessment on the architecture of the front end and propose some suggestions of how Kubeflow projects should structure and how they should evolve. Then Andre, there is a person from the steering committee, asked us to do this in a more broad perspective, to open this to the community, and this conversation is evolving to have to become some sort of guidelines for the future of the front end, that this will be applied for Model Registry, the work that we are doing. So, and this is the presentation, the guidelines that I'm proposing. And what are our goals is to provide a consistent UX experience across existing and new Kubeflow Y projects, because there is some that are not so consistent. There is some architectural recommendations also for new projects, and enable the community and distributions to consume each application independently as a microservice. And another important point for us is to streamline the onboarding of the front-end developers in the Kubeflow community, to make more easy for people from front-end on board, to allow the projects and the individual community like us and Model Registry to operate independent as possible, and enable the community and distributions to customize the look and feel of the substitute project. So give a way for the distributions to customize the colors and buttons and this sort of stuff. Go ahead, Ramesh.
I just wanted to mention that your presentation is not going forward as you are talking. It's still showing the first page.
Why? Thank you. This is a good
Just wanted
question. Yeah. Why?
It's not in a
Sorry.
presentation mode, probably. Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry.
No worries.
Now it's going, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so please interrupt me if I skip slides. And my goal here, and so that is out here. And my goals here is to collaborate with the Kubeflow Y personal and notebooks and Model Registry to onboard front-end people from Red Hat, because we have multiple WISE engineers that are looking forward to work upstream. And we started by Model Registry, but we are going to work also on Trusty, Feast, and hopefully in other projects. And because Red Hat right now has a duplication of the WISE, we have our old WISE and ODH, and I want to avoid the duplication and make everything. So what we are proposing? The first thing is a speed run is to make everything as a standalone app, following the patterns of micro front-end architecture. This is something most of modern web projects that have this sort of challenge they do. The second proposal is to have a BFF. A BFF is a backend for front-end. It's basically an API layer that abstracts all the front-end complexity. Because one of the challenges that we have right now for front-end people like myself is that there is a lot of things that happen behind the scenes on Kubernetes. So in order to handle one Y, you have to do multiple calls on Kubernetes in a lot of projects. This is an example from from some calls that we have on the notebooks. So we are putting a layer in the front that will be an API built for our UI. So our API, we are written this in Golang, will abstract everything for the front end. And also this API will allow us in future also be consumed by other channels if necessary, for instance, to write a Visual Studio Code or a Jupyter extension. So this is a sort of proposal, is that the new project should go with this BFF. Another thing that applies also for Model Registry, because we are already doing this, is to have code collocation, because some projects in the community, they are split the front-end code from the back-end. So I'm proposing to have everything inside the same repository to make a standalone consumable, and also to make a single community of the front-end and back-end people. And the other thing that is super important that we are following is to have a consistent UX across multiple Kubeflow-wide projects. So I'm doing this audit here. You can check the link here with to make a unified experience in all the Kubeflow projects. And why we are proposing for this, to review the existing UIs for the Kubeflow, to everything become the same style and to be coherent. And also, this is where the points that we are pushing to have React in the front end as a library framework, follow the UX pattern for the Kubeflow language, but the sub projects has independency to their component library. This is really important for us at Red Hat, because other projects use a material UI, is called Mu, is a React component library that implement the React the material UI design system to us at the backend. Material, the type system is the patterns of the UI, how fonts, button, colors, and those patterns are implemented by a component toolkit. Most of the projects use material UI. We are proposing in Model Registry to use the React pattern fly, because you make Red Hat life much more useful. But there is no hurt for the community doing that, because our React components from pattern fly, you'll be able to handle material UI code as independently. So we will keep on the Model Registry the same CSS and the same design language, the same type system of the other projects, but we are going to our proposal to implement this using React pattern fly as a library, using React as a framework, and using Golang as the BFF language. So the summary of actual items that we are talking about tomorrow is on the call, you should propose these architectural guidelines for the steering committee. I already did a call with the steering committee. They looks promising. They just asked for double check with the community. That I will do tomorrow. That is the architecture that we are already implementing on Model Registry. Also, to keep my work with Stefano and others, to have the current status of Kubeflow-wide projects, to define the issues, to understand the existing projects, and also to establish this Kubeflow design language that is the CSS and design style of type system of all the Kubeflow projects, and confirm that we are proposing for Model Registry it's okay for the community, is based on those guidelines. So you'll be a BFF written in Golang. We are using React as a framework. We will be adherent for the Kubeflow UI design language, and we are going to implement using a component library, React pattern fly, and hopefully we are going to bring everything, all the UI engineers to work upstream. And as you can see in the community, this is a valid thing, I believe, and we have already me and the guys working on the UI. And hopefully, as Matteo agreed, we're just waiting to put the roadmap. We can have a UI for 1.10 release. Sorry for the speed run. I just want to take the whole call with this.
No, I think it's awesome. Thank you, Eder, for walking us through and giving us like a sneak peek into tomorrow's. There are just a couple of comments that I think that you evaluate if that it makes sense. Is like one thing that I like about the code location. I think maybe don't put it. I wouldn't be sure to put it in a slide, but I would consider that what I've seen recently is that there is a discussion about what it means for Kubeflow community to be a member, to be a contributor, to be a lead, and so on. So the collocation, I think that lowers the the barriers for that for each of the sub components or project in flow, because then at that point, like it happens for model registries, like we don't need to have the discussion with the kubeflow to have a specific repo that usually is like is a more higher impedance. Not that it's impossible to do, but it takes a bit more discussion, and then because then the question that the community asks is typically like say, okay, how much is the commitment? Because to avoid having a bazillion of repositories created that nobody maybe in the longer term maintains. But this one I think is also value added for the code collocation. Beyond making it simpler for the GitHub action as we are seeing, I think this is also a value advantage, like you're saying.
Yep.
I'm just putting the micro front end directly in the project that needs that one. Of course, I can understand if some projects may decide not to pursue this road, but then it's always, kind of like an opt-out.
Yep.
This is one consideration. Again, I wouldn't put it in the slide, but maybe I would just considering it to discuss it in the.
Yeah, I add this at least for the document because I have a long version, written version of the presentation, and now you add that for sure. And I totally agree to your point. And besides that, I think most important is that we can follow, if you put front-end people and back-end people working together, we can have a group like on those calls that have had a single unit of the project. Because there is only value on when we all the team work together and deliver model registry for the community as a single unit, I would say. And this is the best way to do this.
Absolutely. And then, as I say, the only other comment that I have is that model registry, it kind of like in general, desperately need a UI. So thank you for leading this effort because it's especially appreciated from a project's point of view. Because model registry, like other things, I think that without a UI, it is kind of like more difficult to show, sort of like to have the value added visible. So I think this is kind of like a substantial effort, and it's really appreciated.
Yeah, and another point for having a UI, because this is based on I use it to be on Apache key, and when you have a Y for small companies, use become much more simpler for small companies to use the project, and this will benefit our community. We have more diversity contributed, and not just big corporations that can rewrite their UI.
Before giving the word to Ramesh, there is just one point that at least I'm not involved in UI work, but at least that I think is very meaningful, is that the fixed point that I think it's highlighted in your presentation is that the design language, or kind of like how the components looks and feel, this is what we want really as the end goal for the end users or the consumer of the software. Then the technology indeed up to the choice of each working group. So I think this is really beneficial because I think it put in perspective what you want to end up is a situation where you have the maximum amount of contributor possible. But then again, if for whatever reason, one specific working group is more confident in that kind of technology and it's able to make the thing look exactly the way that you want, I think that you're giving that the freedom. Ramesh.
Yeah, I echo want to thank you Peter, for taking this, helping us with the model registry UI. +100 for that. Thank you for that. The one thing I was going to suggest there, Reader, is it's not necessarily a task for today, but when we get underway to onboarding experience of new components, right? If there is a way where we can, have a sample repository somebody can clone and start doing, rather than, like you have multiple components, right? We have a BFF, we have a front end, we have a design model language. If there is a, like a hello world kind of a thing, something somebody quickly do it and start be productive in very short amount of time, right? Something you can take it after model registry is up, once you figure out all the things, cut it down to a hello world kind of an example from it. that would be super appreciative of any other components, in my opinion. So,
yeah, we are discussing on our UI call that I have with Lucas and Alex and Griffin about those sort of patterns. I'll give you example. How we test things, how we test the UI, this sort of components. As soon as we create the second project following the same structure, probably be Trusty or another project, we can create this sort of bootstrap app repository where we can and take as a baseline for other projects. But this is one of the things that we are figuring out how to generalize those solutions.
Okay, super. That's what I wanted to say there.
And all the work for Lucas and Griffin and Alex, those are the ones that are doing this stuff, not myself. Yeah. And tomorrow, if everybody wants to also be on there, are you going to do the same presentation on the community call for the broader group?
Great, thank you.
All right. Anybody else had any question left for Eder? This is your chance. Or otherwise, okay. Thank you again, Eder, for this walkthrough. Just repeat what Eder mentioned. Let's say, don't forget to join tomorrow's Kubeflow community because he will go in a bit more details about this one. So thank you for the preview, the trailer for the movie. I really appreciate it. All right, I think that we unless I'm missing something and people just let me know in that case, I think that the only remaining item in the agenda is to keep tabs on the Kubeflow 1.10 roadmap. The overall Kubeflow 1.10 roadmap is yet to be established because this is the time for retrospective for 1.9, which was announced. So this is, however, the best time to start to consider the thing that we can sort of like keep tabs on and keep visibility on to start work early. And in fact, we are already doing some of the work, like for the CSI or the UI that we have just mentioned. We are already in the discussion. So I think that in these issues, we collected a few of the items, like as well, Chanaki presented earlier, MLMD related announcement, the multi-arch images, shift left testing. This is something that is important. We want to try to bring as much of the testing that we have midstream and downstream from our side as upstream as possible. So I think this is kind of like a win-win situation for all the projects. Integration with other components is another item, as we discussed earlier today in the call. I think that showcasing tighter integration, in this case for CSI, it will be with the K-serve add-on or integration blueprint for Katib or hyperparameter optimization in general. I think it could be great. So here, Nicolas is like, I think like if you have any proposal, you can go ahead. And then other blueprints are here. I think that as I went through what we received as feedback from GitHub issues or GitHub discussion, I went through. Finally, we have something for OCI storage. We will eventually get around to discuss it. And then there are some little sort of like smaller carryover items that I've, since we closed the 1.9 tracker, I wanted to make sure to capture. So Ramesh?
Yeah, thank you, Nitya, for that rundown of it. I believe, Francisco, aren't you from Feature Store group? I do want to give you, floor to, since we talked offline, maybe you want to put your proposal up. Maybe we can talk in terms of how we can, what's the next steps, how we can collaborate there.
Yeah, actually, ironically, I'm a maintainer for Feast, which is how I was introduced to Red Hat, but I'm actually not working that closely with the Feast team. I know that there are some other members that are working closer on the model registry integration. So I can't really speak to the details. Although I think the general thing is that we want to collaborate to come up with it, which I'm very supportive of. as a general construct. I think the key parts is figuring out the details of how that actually happens.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I would encourage to bring your team members maybe to the next call, and yeah, or pick up us on the Slack. So that's another feature. I think we can try to put it in the integration space. Matthew is the Feast has a similar requirements as a model registry in terms of capturing some metadata.
Correct.
I thought it would be a great.
Yes, we have it. We're discussing this in the Feast community, and so very much agree with the value. And just again, the how it gets done is where there's.
Yeah, if you want to bring us into your community, or you want to start in the CNCF model registry.
Actually, we probably want to start in the CNCF because
Yeah.
I think for candidly, it's a smaller work for Feast.
Mhm.
I think is
Okay.
my view on it.
Yeah, I would encourage you guys to either
we'll
start
be
there or next meeting. I mean, we can put an agenda item.
We'll be at the next meeting. So actually, our team, the team's meeting conflicts with the schedule, so I asked them to reschedule their meeting.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, sorry, that was just today.
No worries.
Why
No
I was
worries.
here earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if you already have a proposal, I know I've seen a link to that. If you guys wanna just present it, just like how Nicholas and Chanika were doing, that would be even great, so that we can understand what you guys are proposing too. So I would appreciate that. All right,
Of course.
thank you. Go ahead, Matthew. I'm sorry, I probably cut you in the middle, or.
I really appreciate it. So I just started on an item here, and Francisco is like, if you have any comments later, if you want to add, I'm just going to copy over. The thing is, like, if we want to loop in the two on the integration points, super appreciated. So we can totally do that. And I think that's it, at least for today's. So Ramesh, do you think any other items I might have?
No, I mean, the only one I came across for me was the Feast integration recently, so I thought I would call it out.
Awesome, appreciate it. So this is the time. I think that we have a few minutes left, but if anybody wants to have some last minute item that they want to raise, or otherwise, I going once, going twice. So I want to thank everybody for the participation and joining the biweekly call. I just want to remind that every Tuesday the Kubeflow community plenary meeting holds. So that is very interesting to keep tabs on everything that is happening on Kubeflow. And I hope to see you next at the next Kubeflow Model Registry biweekly meeting. With that, have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thanks, bye.